Well, welcome everyone. I want to thank you for joining us tonight. We are enjoying another one of our destination nights in the We Will Travel Again events series. Tonight we are traveling to Bermuda, and I am joined by Earlston Dill from Bermuda's Tourism Authority. Welcome.
Thank you.
As some of you know, you've already been on our calls in the past. We do these every week. We go somewhere new and different and exciting every week. Next week, we'll be taking our trip to some U.S. cities. We're going to do some U.S. cities and touring with my friends at Colette. And then after that, we're going to go on a Viking River cruise for Christmas markets. That's a really exciting trip to take. But I also want to mention that on the 18th of November, I'm going to be joined by a few other industry colleagues, and we're going to talk about what it looks like to travel today, right now. If you were going to go on a cruise, there's a couple of cruise lines that are already operating, tour companies, or staying in resorts. So you have a kind of firsthand knowledge that night of what it's like to tour again. So please visit my link there. You'll see the URL here. We Will Travel Again events. If you go there, you can click on registrations for all of our upcoming events, and you can also get a link to our past events. So Earlston, I want you to invite you to go ahead and share your screen while I just give everybody a quick heads up about Bermuda. For those of you that live on the East Coast, it's a quick hop, skip, and a jump to Bermuda. There isn't even a skip, it's just a hop. And when cruising does start, there are ships that leave from New York Harbor, whether the New York City or the New Jersey coast, 5 times a week practically in the season. So there are ships that go to Bermuda all year long under normal circumstances, but certainly you can fly there from anywhere in the world because it is close to the Northeast. It's a great way to knit a trip with the Northeast. So if you're coming from a different part of the world, different part of the country, you could easily add it on to a trip if you were visiting New York City or any of the other big cities along the East Coast. So lots of opportunities to make it a fantastic vacation on its own, and even tuck in maybe something else in the Northeast. So without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to my friend Earlston. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you everybody for joining today's session. So today what I'm going to do is pretty much I'm going to keep it to the destination and just give you a little tidbit on Bermuda itself and some of what we do have to offer when it comes to you, the client, going down there to experience the island. So for those of you who may not be aware of where we're located, but thanks to Christy, now you kind of have an idea. We happen to be 700 miles off the East Coast. So the closest point on land is actually Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. So most people think, well, you must be able to take a ferry, but that's not the case. And we do experience a subtropical climate because of the Gulf Stream passing up the East Coast, along the East Coast. So that's why we don't have any true winters, any snow, anything like that. So as I mentioned, Bermuda is 700 miles off the East Coast. The approximate flying time is about 2 hours from any of our major gateway cities, which I'll talk about in 1 second. Bermuda actually also happens to be the top of an extinct volcano. Most people don't realize that, but as I mentioned, it is extinct, it's not dormant, so you don't have anything to worry about there. So looking at the East Coast, because of the proximity, this is where you're gonna find pretty much all of our gateway cities. So as Christy had mentioned, this is where you do most of your connections from. So you're looking anywhere from Toronto all the way down to as far as Miami, where the approximate flight time is 2 hours. If you fly out of New York, it's only 90 minutes from wheels up to wheels down. So it's a very quick flight. And then of course, our flight from London, which at this moment is out of Gatwick, but we will be starting our new service out of Heathrow starting, I believe, in March of 2021. So it makes a better connection for those coming from Europe, and it just makes better service altogether. So if I can just quickly go through some of the airlines that fly down to let you know who comes down. So if you're in the Canada area flying out of Toronto, you're looking at Air Canada and WestJet coming out of that area. Out of Boston, right now we have JetBlue, and Delta may be coming back. They have been flying there before, but obviously because of everything going on, they've suspended their service out of that area. Out of New York, we do definitely have JetBlue and Delta flying down, and Delta, I believe it's 5 days a week at this period. Our Philadelphia flight doesn't start up until December. So you're looking at December, I believe December the 15th or so, 17th, that flight, that'll be on American. Our Washington and Charlotte flights, usually seasonal, but they decided not to bring them this year because of the fact that obviously there wasn't no service coming out of the area for there. And then the first flight that actually started back in July was Delta out of the Atlanta area. So they are now flying about 6 days a week. And then a Miami service started this month, about a week or two ago, and that'll be an evening flight about 5:20 or so on American. So what you do need in order to get down to the island is a valid passport. So be sure that it is valid and not expired. That won't be accepted. Also, there is a form that you can fill out online, which you go to our government website, which is gov.bm, and you can find the traveler's authorization form. So this needs to be filled out, and you need to bring that down with you as well. I'll speak about that in a minute as well. And then if you are a naturalized citizen with a green card, then you can use your green card to get down to Bermuda along with your passport of the country of origin. So since last year, there's no longer a requirement to actually have a visa to travel to Bermuda. And if you're coming from another country other than the US, well, you would definitely have a US visa to get into the US, and then that visa would actually be the one that can get you into Bermuda. One of our biggest selling points is the fact that US Customs and Immigration is actually cleared right there in Bermuda. So just imagine everybody coming from all over the world returning, and you're all stuck in immigration on the US side, and now you have another hour and a half of trying to pass through there. Well, fortunately, we have it right there in Bermuda. It just takes a few minutes, and once you get back to the US, it's literally like flying a domestic flight, and you just grab your luggage, and then you head on home. Now, one of the most exciting things to happen to Bermuda in many, many years, and especially in my lifetime, is that we have a brand new airport that has been constructed. So this was supposed to open up back in July, obviously, but now we're looking at a new date in December. So we're gonna have a state-of-the-art facility here with your retail, restaurants. All of your flights will be passing through, because before we had it separated from the UK and the US side, but now all of them will be passing through here. And then the upper level will be all your waiting facilities, restaurants, and the departure lounge. So we're looking forward to this facility being open in December. So Bermudians, we definitely are a multicultural patchwork of the British, West Indian, African, Azorian Portuguese, and Native American Indians. The British were actually the ones that found us back in 1609. That's where we were discovered by the British. And of course, they claimed us. They were actually on a rescue mission to Jamestown, Virginia. And during a bad storm, the 9 vessels were dispersed, but the flagship, the Sea Venture, was the one that actually landed up in the waters of Bermuda. So all 150 settlers actually swam ashore. Nobody perished. They were there for about 10 months, built 2 new ships, and then continued on their mission to Jamestown, Virginia, which you know is the first settlement by the British. And of course, Bermuda accidentally became the second. Native Americans actually were brought down because of the fact that they thought Native Americans were good divers, and they thought that we had pearls in our water. So because of that fact, they brought them down. No pearls in the water. But of course, they became part of our culture in Bermuda. And then, of course, the West Indian and African, because of the fact of the slave trade taking place back then. And then the Azorian Portuguese were known for their skill set at horticulture and agriculture. So they were brought down to manicure the island. And we definitely can thank those earlier people that came down for the way Bermuda looks today. Now, small country, we're only 21 square miles. Widest point of land is 1 mile wide. And literally you can get from one end of the island to the other in 1 hour and 10 minutes. And I'll show you that on a satellite image that I have. So think about it. We have 63,000 people as our population. We can fit in any of your national football stadiums and still have seats left over. Imagine an entire country in one of your football stadiums. We have two seasons. This is what we like to say. We have a spring and a summer. We don't really have a winter because your average temperatures are about 68 degrees. And obviously fall, pretty much everything on it is an evergreen. So we really don't have the trees or experience the leaves, falling off the trees and everything looking a little auburn and brown and whatnot. So average temperatures during our high season, which is April 1st to October 31st, you're looking at about 80, 85 degrees. The sea temperatures are close to that, really nice during especially the later part of the summer. And I like to say the warmest part of the month or the summer would be August because of the fact that the humidity is really high. You're looking at almost 100% sometimes, so it makes it feel like it's a little warmer than what it is. September, October, best time to be down there. Most people are afraid because of the fact, excuse me, that the hurricane season runs from June to November. But, we are on the tail end of where the hurricanes could end up. And our infrastructure, we're a pretty sound country. We can withstand 160 mile per hour winds. Usually the only damage that you might see if a storm was to hit us directly would really be from the wind blowing up the salt out of the soil water. And that happens to kind of burn the trees and the grass and it kind of turns them brown, but they grow back fast. So you can go down to the island 3 months afterwards and you would never really be able to tell that we had a hurricane. Unlike certain countries south of us, you go back 3 years later and you still see the devastation of what they've experienced. Now, November to March, like I said, is not a true winter. Our average temperatures are about 68 degrees. Now, remember, we are not beach weather during this time. So our season is definitely opposite the Caribbean. The Caribbean is about 88 degrees or so on average. It's their high season. For us, it's what we term our Gulf and Spa season because your climate to moderate. It's good to be out there on the greens because of the fact that you don't have the high beams shining on you. And then it's a good time to come down for the cultural heritage and history aspect. So if you're buffs in any of those areas and going swimming in the ocean is not, you're not adamant about that, perfect time to come down and do sightseeing. We have all kinds of events and activities that are also planned to take place there. And of course, the majority of the properties, if you really need to go swimming in warm water, they do have heated pools. So that's one thing you don't need to worry about during that period. Now, for those who have never traveled to Bermuda, another great selling point is the fact that you do not have to do any currency exchange. So unless you're coming from another country other than the US, but the US dollar is on par with the Bermuda dollar. So you go to the bank, it's literally 97 cents to Bermuda's dollar. So you can bring it down and spend it dollar for dollar on the island. This has been the case since 1970 when we discontinued using the pound. Now, getting around the island is very easy. We only have 3 major streets. So you've got your middle road, you have North Shore Road, and you have the South Shore Road, traveling east to west. So you really can't get lost on the island at all. Now, we have an intricate road system where we have about over 400 miles of road system, but those are the main 3 roads you can't get lost. So the way to get around the island is either by buses, ferries, taxis, or mopeds. This is actually done by most locals as well. So this is something that both the locals and the visitor would experience. We, about a year and a half now have these little guys right here known as the electric cars. So they're probably as big as a golf cart, as you can see. They're only a 2-seater, so there's no room for a family of 4 or more. You really don't have any room for luggage or anything else. They're really designed just to get around and to actually do your sightseeing. Now, the ones that you see pictured here, the one to the far left, the Burmy, and the one in the second from the right, the Tazari, I call those the upgrades because of the fact that you can wind the windows up and they do have air conditioning. So, if you're out there and weather gets a little inclement, you don't have to worry about getting wet. The other ones, well, you might have to take your chances. So another thing that we do offer, again, utilized by both locals and visitors, is the fact that we offer a transportation pass. So most people don't realize that Bermuda does not have any traditional car rental agency. So there's none at all. So people get around on the buses and the ferries for the most part. So we do offer a transportation pass running anywhere from a 1-day to a 7-day, depending upon how many days you're on the island. And it gives you unlimited travel on both the buses and the ferries. So you can interchange between the two. You can hop on and off as many times as you want through the day. It makes for a very economical and scenic way to see the island. As you can see, our buses have these very large windows, and you can't miss anything when you're riding on the buses. Now, a way to make sure that you're going in the right direction. If you want to head into the city of Hamilton, then you want to make sure you're standing next to the pink pole, because the word in is in the word pink. And that way you really wouldn't confuse the fact that you're trying to get into Hamilton. Now, if you're heading out of Hamilton or even further along the island and you don't want to go towards the city, then you want to stand next to the blue pole, because the blue, like you say, you blew away. That means you go in the opposite direction. So blue if you want to head away from the city, pink if you want to head into the city. Of course, in Bermuda, we drive on the right side, or I should say here, you drive on the right side, where in Bermuda, we actually drive on the correct side. So be sure that you remember that. Now, this is a satellite image that I had mentioned that I have of the island. As you can see, it's shaped like a fish hook. So right here, this is the widest point of land that I had mentioned. This is only 1.5 miles wide. And then from this end of the island, which is the west end, all the way to the east end, takes about an hour, 10 minutes. So it's a very quick ride, very small country. As you can see from the plateau here, all this blue, and then you've got your dark waters. So that shows you that Bermuda actually does sit on top of an extinct volcano, because that's the plateau that it sits on top. And the landmass that you see there is what is Bermuda today. So there are 4 distinct areas that we try to suggest people to go to visit to get a whole experience of the island itself. So here at the very right end, this is the east end of the island, which is the old town of St. George. So this is the most historic part of the island. When Bermuda was discovered by the settlers, this is where they came onto the island on a beach known as Gates Bay. So this is where they started. All along the bottom here, this is known as the South Shore. So this is where you'll find the majority of Bermuda's pink sand beaches. That's what we're known for. This side of the island is pretty much deep water and cliffs. So you really wouldn't find maybe 1 or 2 beaches on that side of the island. Right here in the center, we call the arm. You can see how congested it is. That's the capital. So that's the city of Hamilton. And then when you go to the very western tip, another historic area, but predominantly if you go by cruise ship, this is where the cruise ships will dock. And there's plenty to do and see out there. So this is the island of Bermuda, very small country. Everybody knows everybody, so don't do anything wrong. So in the east end of the island, the old town of St. George, this actually became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So we're proud to have a living museum since 2000. We have houses and buildings over 300-400 years old. Some of the streets are still cobblestone. We do walking tours, Segway tours, and they even do ghost tours in some of the buildings. So it's a pretty unique town, a couple of nice restaurants, and they do reenactments actually during season where you have the people in the stocks and pillars where you get to throw stuff at them, and then they do the dunking of the winch. So some of the landmark sightseeing spots that you definitely don't want to miss. We have St. Peter's Church right down here at the bottom. This happens to be the oldest church in continuous use in the Western Hemisphere. So recently it was dubbed by the Queen of England as Her Majesty's Chapel. So that's located right here in Bermuda. The church next to it is the unfinished church. And this was actually being built to replace St. Peter's. But what happened was there was a storm and a rift in the congregation. So the money used, or the money they took from there to use to repair St. Peter's, and the other church was never finished. So today it's one of the major sightseeing venues. And believe it or not, many wedding ceremonies actually take place inside that church. Tobacco Bay, as I mentioned, this is on the North Shore side. So this is one of the few beaches that you'll find. This gets its name from the fact that Bermuda in our history used to export tobacco to the US. And this is where the ships would come, and this is where they were loaded. So, back then in our history, we used to export 3 different things, which was tobacco, Easter lilies, which the Queen of England still gets a bunch every year. And then the final one, which all of you should be familiar with, is the fact of the Bermuda onion. So we used to export that there. If you're anywhere in the world and you have Bermuda onions on the menu, you're actually getting them from Bermuda, Texas. So they don't come from Bermuda anymore. You actually have to go to Bermuda to actually get Bermuda grown onions. Bermuda has several fortifications surrounding the island because the British were a little nervous about the French and the Spanish coming in and taking the island over. And we actually never fired any of the cannons on any of those forts. So we never had to worry about that. Now, Bermuda happens to have one of the highest concentration of limestone caves in the world. And the East End in particular, you'll find several caves. Two in particular, Crystal Caves and Fantasy Caves, is open to the public daily. So you can go down there from 9 to 5 to actually see the crystal formations of these two major caves. Now, in the city of Hamilton, which is again on the arm of the island, if you remember, this happens to be the capital, the center of commerce and entertainment. So definitely you're going to find your nightlife, your shopping, your dining, plenty to do and see here. In season again, this street that you see in the bottom picture is known as Front Street. They actually closed that off, and we have something what is called Harbor Nights. So Harbor Nights takes place from 5:30 in the evening to about 9:30 in the evening, where you have different vendors, you have music, you have food stalls, and it's a big thing. So everybody comes here and they get to experience a lot of artisan made things from the island, whether it be food, little trinkets, or perfumes, you name it, you'll find it all right here. The closest beach to the city would be Elbow Beach. Elbow Beach is actually about a mile long, but half of it is public and the other half actually belongs to one of the hotels we have on the island, known as Elbow Beach, which actually doesn't open up until April of next year. And then, of course, Fort Hamilton's there, and rock climbing has actually become very big over the last 3 or 4 years. I remember as a boy, because I grew up on the North Shore side, we used to go here and jump off of these things all the time and think nothing of it. And so, of course, when this became a major tourist attraction, we're like, hey, we used to do that ourselves years ago. Well, but I'm glad that people now have experienced or discovered some of the things that the locals like to do. So in the West End, you'll find the Maritime Museum. The Maritime Museum actually houses our national museum. So here you're going to find pretty much anything that has to do with the maritime history of Bermuda, shipbuilding. Bermuda actually built the sloop. So we were the first to have that design, which was actually utilized by a lot of yachts today to give that smooth, quick sailing. We also have exhibits up here as well. We also have exhibits on the slave trades, the Portuguese being brought to Bermuda, and there's a large coin collection. And in a building right here known as Commissioner's House, there's also on the lower level exhibit on the World War I and II, and the Bermudians that actually helped to fight in those wars and help the U.S. Most people don't realize that Bermuda and the U.S. have had an alliance for over 400 years. And in fact, that started when we helped George Washington with gunpowder to fight his war. And that's how we got the connection out from the start. The Gibbs Hill Lighthouse over here, that happens to be one of 2 cast iron lighthouses ever built. And this one in Bermuda in particular is the tallest one of its kind. So it stands about 360 feet. There's about 185 steps to get to the top. And it shines a light out as far as 150 miles. So you can see that from anywhere when you're approaching the island. So as you're approaching the West End, you will also see the majority of our beaches. So one of our top beaches, which is the Horseshoe Bay Beach, which happens to be the jewel of all of Bermuda's beaches. It was voted one of the top 10 beaches in the world by National Geographic. You'll find the Dolphin Crest up here as well. So that's not a swim with the dolphins, but a dolphin encounter. So you get to go in the water with them, you learn about them and their habitat and how they're handled in the wild and in the facility right here. For those who want to go swimming in the ocean, but they're afraid to be in the open ocean, then Bermuda has plenty of coves. So it's a good way to still have that saltwater open ocean feel, but mentally you feel a lot safer because of the fact that you're pretty much enclosed in that cove. And then we have several different golf courses along the way. One of our top ones as well will be Port Royal Golf Course. They spent $20 million to bring it up to the championship playing level. And as we speak, or maybe not as we speak, but as we speak today, the Bermuda Championship is actually taking place there over the next 3 days. And I'll mention that in a second as well. Now, remember I had mentioned that the Black population of Bermuda is a result of the West Indians and the slave trade. So Bermuda is definitely on the ADHT, the African Diaspora Heritage Trail. So we do have strategic spots along the island that you can stop and visit. We do produce a brochure, and it really is a self-guided tour at the moment, but there's plenty to see when it comes to the African Diaspora Heritage Trail. Now, Bermuda, we actually, or I should say the BTA, another way to help you get around the island and experience the island is the fact that we have what is known as the Certified Tourism Ambassador Program. So there, at this point, are 800 frontline people on the island that have actually taken this course. So what it is, we learn about the sightseeing, the venues, how to get around, dining, you name it. We learn all about that. We do a course, and then we pass a class. Along with that, we also do what is known as the Blue Flag course. Now, this was only originally given to taxi drivers who wanted to be certified tour guides. So we do that along, and we pass that course. So together with both of the courses, and you pass them both, you become a Bermuda Tourism Ambassador. So you'll see the young lady to the far right who has on almost a pink shirt like me. She has this little gold star you'll see on her shirt. So that is the way to identify all of our Bermuda Tourism Ambassadors. The thing about them is that you can go up to them anywhere, anytime, and ask them anything, how to get around. Most of them can actually do a itinerary right on the spot for you, or tell you how what's the best place to eat, best place to see in the area that you're staying. I mean, you name it, they can help you out. So it ends up being more of a positive experience for you when you're on the island and you're not feeling too lost or helpless. Now, if you don't run into any of them, which should not be the case, we also have the Bermuda, the visitor service centers. So strategically, they're placed in the East End, the West End, and in the city of Hamilton. So these are open up to the public and to the visitor. You can go in there. They have interactive computers that can help you to research and look for things that you want to do and see. There's some retail with Bermuda paraphernalia, pamphlets. They actually can tell you what is going on in real time in Bermuda when you're there. So it's a good way to resource to really see, in the couple of days that you're there, what's happening on island. So a perfect spot for you to visit. Now, we do produce this here, which is known as the Adventure Almanac. On our website, go to bermuda.com. You can download this, and Christy should have it as well. So what you see, it breaks down all of our major activities according to the month of the year. So you can see during our season, in the summer months is when it's a little bit more heavier, and then during the winter months, it's not as many. But of course, remember now, I said that we do during November to March produce the events and activities which are actually scheduled, and most of the hotels will have that schedule in there, so you'll find that out. Our air and sea temperature you'll find at the top as well, and then of course we have the diving information when it comes to the water temperatures and the clarity of the water. So just want to talk to those out there who are more focused on what their trip's going to be. So if you're a golfer, Bermuda has 6 different golf courses on the island. So we have, and in fact, we have a brand new hotel which should be opening in April, which will give us the 7th golf course, and that'll be in the East End. That'll be the St. Regis. So we do have 6 different golf courses to choose from. Bermuda actually happens to have the most golf courses per square miles than anywhere else in the world. So we like to brag about that, and so I did. As I mentioned, the Bermuda Championship is taking place. So the PGA Tour actually designed this just for Bermuda. Last year was the first year. It's being played now, as you can see from the dates. And in fact, it was televised today. So today, the next 2 days, it's televising on the NBC Golf Channel from 12 to 3. And then the final day would be the 1st, which is Sunday. And that is actually from 11 to 2. So you'll get to see these guys playing for this major tournament. The purse actually increased because there was a tournament that actually was canceled, and the majority of those players actually came over and joined this one as well. So, and then this is actually one of the first tournaments around the world that actually has allowed spectators. So we have, it's not full spectators, but there's several. And if you get a chance to watch it, you'll see that there are people out there looking at this. So we do have several different beaches. Some of our more popular beaches will be, as we have mentioned, Tobacco Bay in the East End. You'll find a lot of cruise passengers go there. Horseshoe Bay Beach, one of the top 10 beaches in the world. Shelley Bay Beach, another one on the North Shore, which is very popular with families. What I want to mention, we have about 30 different beaches around the island that are open to the public. They're open 365, 24/7. So you can go there any time of day and night and enjoy it. We don't have any admission to get on the beaches. So, I mean, feel free to go there anytime. One thing you'll notice about Bermuda's beaches compared to some others, especially since I live here in the US or at the moment, when I visited the US beaches, they are hot. So you're walking across those beaches, you got to have your flip-flops on. If you're not, you're going to be burning your feet trying to find your spot. Bermuda, it's always cool to the touch. So that's one of the pluses. They say it has something to do with the composition of the sand. And so we're proud of that. As I mentioned, Bermuda is known for its pink sand beaches. So that gets its coloration from a little organism and from the coral. So the organism is known as foraminifera. It has a pink exoskeleton. When it dies, it falls off, it gets churned up in the sand as it's pushed along, and it ends up on the shoreline. And that's actually what gives Bermuda its coloration. So one of my questions that I usually get is, where's the pinkest sand? So Warwick Long Bay is where you'll find the pinkest sand on the entire island. And then depending upon what section you're at and the concentration of the reef system near the beaches, that's what determines the coloration of the beaches. Now, we are a dive destination as well. So our water depths for any of those out there who are scuba divers runs anywhere from 30 to 100 feet. So that's actually pretty shallow compared to some other destinations that are out there. Our visibility is up to 200 feet, especially during the winter months. So that's also a good time. And you really don't have to wear anything more than a 5 mil suit, wetsuit. During the months of March and April, we also have whale watching. So most people don't realize that the humpback whales actually migrate across the island during this period of time on the South Shore. And we do offer anywhere from a 5 to a 7 hour whale watching tour for those who may be interested. Great spa experiences on the island. Pretty much every major hotel, or you can go to any local spa location on the island. What you see pictured here is the only natural cave spa in the entire world. I'm told there's another one in Italy, but it's a man-made cave. But this one here is a natural cave spa. So you'll find this one here at Grotto Bay Beach Hotel, which actually happens to be the only hotel on the island that offers an all-inclusive optional for any of those who may be interested. So we do have 2 months of the year that are actually spa months. So the month of February and the months we're coming up on, November. So here you'll find participating spas that will offer 50% off of their treatments. So if you're on the island during any 2 of those months, then you definitely want to take advantage of that. And you definitely want to book an appointment right here at Natura Spa. Food. We are foodies on that island, and we invite all kinds of foodies from all over. So great food culture. And in fact, food is almost an artwork on the island, the way they present everything. So we have over 150 different restaurants to choose from, serving both local and international cuisines. Obviously, seafood is our major influence because we're an island. So you'll find a lot of the seafood on the menus. So what you see pictured here, starting from the left, we have our own lobster season. So any month that has the letter R in it is when you'll find the spiny lobsters are allowed to be caught and eaten. Any months outside of that, you'll usually find imported lobsters from Maine or Australia or whatnot at the restaurants. The codfish and potato breakfast made up of boiled codfish, boiled potatoes, avocado, boiled eggs, and bananas. So that is a traditional Bermuda Sunday breakfast that you'll find in most homes, and some of the hotels actually have that on the menu for you to take part in. Fish sandwiches are major on the island, and in fact, they're so major that we have fish sandwich competitions. So there's several places that have won. Art Mel's, definitely hands down, is one of my favorite, and they've won several times. And then believe it or not, in the city of Hamilton, there's a restaurant known as Rosa's Cantina. And Rosa's Cantina doesn't sound like a seafood place, but they have won the fish sandwich competition absolutely out of this world. I have one from there, trust me, hands down as well. Fish chowder, it's a tomato broth based and not cream based, as you can see. You'll find it on any menu anywhere. And then be sure to make sure that you have Bermuda's national drink, which is the dark and stormy, made out of Gosling's dark rum. Gosling's is a family on the island that this is the 8th or 9th generation of the rum. And the ginger beer made from either Barrett's or from Gosling's as well. So the two are mixed, 1 part rum, 2 parts ginger beer. and you'll have your dark and stormy. So obviously, the more room you have in there, the stormier it is. If you're interested in getting married, Bermuda's always been known for a wedding destination. You do not have to actually reside on the island like some places do in the south of us that require that. So pretty much you would fill out the notice of intended marriage form that would get to the registrar's office. You can get married either traditionally in a church or in the cave side, on the beach, cliffside. And as I said, you don't need to reside. So you can literally fly in and fly out if you choose to do so. So the thing that everybody's probably wondering, okay, so how is the COVID situation in Bermuda? So Bermuda actually, I guess I'm proud to say, we've actually been on level 2 all this time. So the CDC has had several different levels. Most countries that are experiencing really difficult times are in level 4, I believe 4 or 5. Bermuda has been level 2 since July, and then we just this week, Monday, announced that the CDC has dropped us to level 0. So that means that we are absolutely one of the safest countries in the world to travel to right now. Now, also the World Travel and Tourism Council has also gave us the stamp of safe travel stamp. So if any of you out there are definitely ready to travel, I would strongly suggest that, yes, Bermuda is definitely one of those places that you do not have to worry about, and we've taken some serious measures, and we're going to talk about those measures right now. So if you are decided to travel to Bermuda during the COVID situation, you must be tested with a PCR COVID-19 test. So obviously that's the one that's the nasal test. And we prefer it being done at least 72 hours prior, but no more than 7 days. So that test needs to take place first. It definitely needs to be a negative test. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to travel down to the island. Once about a day or two out from your travel, then you can go online to our website or to the government website again and pull up the traveler's authorization form. So I'll talk about that in a second as well. So the testing here needs to be done with anybody who's 10 years of age and older. Children under 10 are not required to be tested, but they will be required if the adult has to be quarantined, and we have to get parental permission to have them quarantined as well. So the Bermuda Traveler's Authorization Form, you pull it up online, you fill it out. You also record your test results on here. Be sure to bring a copy of this and a copy of your test results when you come to the island. So there's a $75 fee for this form, but the fee actually covers all your subsequent testing that takes place. And this is why Bermuda has been so safe, because of these other testing dates that we have. And those dates are, you get tested in Bermuda the day of arrival. So once you come on island, they take you to a separate area, you get your test, then you gather your luggage and you head straight to your property. So once you head straight to your property, you then have to remain shelter in place, I believe they call it, until you get your results. Usually the return around is anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. Most people have been getting them, before midnight the same day they travel, or they're getting them first thing in the morning. So you will wait in place to get those results before you're allowed to even go out. So from the airport, you don't stop at a restaurant, you don't stop at a bar, you don't do anything. You go straight to your room or wherever you're staying, and you remain there until you receive your results. The results are normally given by email. If the negative, if the positive, you would definitely receive a phone call. Also, if you are positive on island, then you will be required to quarantine for 14 days. So be sure that your tests are negative, and be sure that your insurance does cover the quarantine situation, because there's a lot of insurance companies that don't have that. You might have to add that as a supplemental. Otherwise, you may have to come out of pocket if you happen to be one of the unfortunate ones that are quarantined because of it. So we also want to make sure that you take out your own thermometer. I mean, that can help. You can do your daily checks and record that if you choose. Make sure you got plenty of masks for the island. And as I mentioned before, make sure you have your insurance that covers it. So follow the protocol on the plane as well. Make sure that you have your social distancing and you wear your mask while you're in flight. And then we already went through the type of test that will happen when you're on island. So once you have a negative test result and you've been informed, then you can go out and explore the island like everybody else. So as long as you continue to remember, in Bermuda, it's not a place where you can just run wild without masks. We still practice wearing the mask. You still have to practice your social distancing in public, especially if you're doing the buses, ferries, or taxis. You make sure you wear your mask doing that as well. Now, we have been doing exit surveys, and I just wanted to share with you what you have been saying about the island itself. So two of our top influences for Bermuda is the fact that our protocol is pretty safe and that Bermuda is close and convenient. Now, 95% of you have said that they felt very reasonable on the island. So 20 said felt reasonable, 75 very reasonable, but pretty much 95%. So that's actually pretty high. And then feeling safe on the island, 97% of you said you felt safe on the island. So that is a good testament to what we've been doing to the island and how you will feel down there in Bermuda. The last thing I want to leave with you is the fact that Bermuda has a work and study from Bermuda program. So I know there's plenty of you out there that are working remotely. You're working from home, your laptop or whatnot. So that's how you're running your businesses. Bermuda now is open up to you. So it's you can fill out the application and you can come down and live like a local up to 12 months. So if you want to take advantage of that, you want to feel a little safer than the city that you're living in, then you can come down to the island and live like the rest of us. So that is my presentation tonight. If you want any further information or updates, our website is gotobermuda.com. We also have information up to date on the corona situation. And then again, government or gov.bm coronavirus is where you'll find the authorization form and any other updates that you might need. So Christy, is there anything you want from anything else I forgot to mention?
Oh my gosh, I want to go right now. Right now.
Yeah,
I have to say, I had the pleasure of seeing a slightly different presentation from Ralston about a month and a half ago, which is why I reached out to him right away and said, oh my gosh, can you please, pretty please, bring that presentation to my events, because it's just been so, it's such an anticipation of being able to go somewhere where it's safe and it's the kind of place where you can do all the things that you wish you could do, and it's and like I said before, from where I am, in the tri-state area in New York City, it's so easy to get to, but one of the things that I learned so much more, because I've had the time to learn more and do more of this sort of stuff, is how much there really is to enjoy for a week in Bermuda. It's such a target-rich environment, right? It's this tiny little place. I can't even believe there's that many golf courses on an island that's so small.
Yep, 21 square miles.
And so it's got all these beautiful beaches. Of course, they're so known for their beaches. I've always been a big fan of going to places and enjoying the food there.
Yep.
I've got my Gosling rum in the closet. It's a gift from a client.
Yes.
They know me well. But so many things to enjoy and see and do. I send clients to Bermuda on a regular basis up until this year. I truly hope that if you are, interested in traveling in the short term, seriously consider Bermuda. It's got so much to offer, and like Erlson said, the benefits of going right now. A lot of reduced capacities going on, all this great, health and safety protocols, so you feel safe. So the whole island is partaking in these great best practices, so that they can not only live there safely, but we can visit there safely.
Mm-hmm.
As far as all of you on the call, if you are interested in booking travel, whether that's a cruise that will go there in the next 2 years, or you'd like to fly out there and spend some time in one of their beautiful resorts. There's so many beautiful resorts, and you'd like to stay put on the island for a few days. If you're interested in booking any trip that goes to Bermuda between now and the end of November, I am happy to offer you a little bonus incentive up to $150, depends on what actually it is that you book. But I'd like to offer that to you guys. And of course, you can always contact me. Up on the screen, you'll see my phone and my email. Follow me on social. And if you go to my website, which is escapeartistholidays.com, you can enter into our brand new contest. It's going to go on for the next 3 months. And we're giving away a 3-night stay at a luxury villa in Cabo San Lucas. Wow. Add that to my list too. Actually, it's already on my list. Does anybody have any questions about Bermuda? We did answer a few while Earlston was presenting. One of the questions asked was, is there a time difference between there and New York? And there is an hour's difference.
Yes, we're in Atlantic time.
And you had said earlier in your presentation about the flight times being so easy along the whole eastern seaboard of the United States, but it's surprisingly not even that bad from the UK, truthfully. So
right.
There's a lot of accessibility. There are seasonal peaks and valleys to that, right? The number of flights or whether or not they're direct kind of thing from further away, but so accessible in so many ways. Let me see if there's any other questions hiding in our chat box.
Yeah, I see 6, unless we answered all those.
I tried to answer them while you were talking. I think so.
So remember that we're still a British colony. We're still owned by Britain, but we are self-governing. And in fact, 100 years prior to being discovered, the Spanish came across us in 1503. And if they would have claimed us, I probably would have been doing this presentation in Spanish to you.
That's true. Now, does the Queen ever come and visit? When was the last time you had some royalty?
She has come over. The royals, every now and then they come. The Queen hasn't come in a while, but we do have, like Princess Margaret has been down there in my lifetime. I've seen the Queen come down. The Duke of Edinburgh has been there. So we do see him. We do see him. Yeah.
Nice. Really nice. Well, I am looking forward to a trip myself to Bermuda, and I owe that to your wonderful presentations.
Well, thank you.
Truly, I've always known it's just been right there. Like I said, I've sent so many clients there myself, but I've never taken advantage of it. And just knowing how anxious I am to travel has moved it to the top of my list. So I want to thank you very much, Earlston, so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
It was wonderful. If you guys have any questions, by all means, reach out to me. You can also go to the Bermuda Tourism website, which is excellent. Tons of wonderful information up on that website. And I hope to see you guys again soon. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Stay safe, stay healthy, and let's keep dreaming about our next vacation. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.